Welcome back, wrestling fans, to another episode. We hit episode 20 this evening for the Mount Rushmore Wrestling Podcast. We are back for WrestleMania Night 2 to kind of sum up our WrestleMania weekend. We'll talk a little bit more about what we did as well besides WrestleMania, including we did actually see SmackDown. On a whim, we were in the Uber and just kind of figured out. We were like, all right, it's only $30. Let's just go sit balcony in the middle for $30 at SmackDown. So we did that. So in terms of WrestleMania Night 2, the outlook's going to be really good. I think very similar to Night 1. I don't personally think it's as strong, but watching it back, and I think the other gentlemen agree, watching it on TV made it a little bit better for me, to be honest, which is interesting because seeing it live is obviously one thing, and it's really elevated at that point, but also adding the commentary and really seeing the depths that Finn Balor was going through in the Hell in a Cell match, I thought was wild, and I thought that really added a lot to the card. So we'll hop into that in a minute. I have the On This Day, and we're going to stay in the WrestleMania tradition. So April 6th, 2014, WrestleMania 30 was held in New Orleans. Mercedes-Benz Superdome, 75,000 people. So WrestleMania 30, one of the better WrestleManias, I think, in the 30s. Just some quick matches that I always like to highlight. Daniel Bryan defeated Triple H to earn his spot in the Triple Threat later in the night. So that was a fantastic match. We had the Shield defeated Kane and the New Age Outlaws in a six-man tag. That wasn't necessarily a great match. The first Under the Giant Memorial Battle Royal happened here. Cesaro won. John Cena defeated Bray Wyatt. That might be one of the best promos to one of the best songs for a Mania in terms of that promo, which is great by Eminem. Brock Lesnar defeated the Streak at this WrestleMania, so no more Undertaker Streak after this one. And we all remember the meme of the gentleman with the glasses that was up and awe because Undertaker lost his streak. It was a very shocking moment. And the main event, of course, was the triple threat match between Randy Orton, Batista, Daniel Bryan. And it was Wrestlemania, basically. It was a huge moment for Daniel Bryan and one of the best calls. I think Michael Cole has also had. We talked about the other day some of his good calls. That was an incredible match to call, and the ending was fantastic. So WrestleMania 30, pretty good Mania. And so that was April 6th in 2014. So just flashing back on the theme of WrestleMania. And we'll continue some of our other talks about Vince, and SmackDown looks pretty good this week, so hopefully we're rebounding from an absolute catastrophe of a Raw. I did go back today and watch some segments. I didn't get through it all. I do want to watch the Bianca Rhea segment and a couple other things because I still haven't gotten around to it. But I did my due diligence. I've rewatched WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2 now, and I think both of these gentlemen did as well, just so we can get both takes from being on TV and live in person. In terms of the first match for WrestleMania Night 2, we had Brock Lesnar against Omos. For me, I think this match could have gone one way or the other. It could have been absolutely shit, or a usual Brock Lesnar match, which, it was still intriguing in terms of how he was going to deal with the size of Omos and what the safety precautions were going to be in terms of him actually German suplexing and F5 him. And if we see the match, and if you saw the match, it was about 5 minutes long. But Brock still showed some power, and he showed why he's that dude. Hit some nice Germans, hit the F5. Looks like he fucked up his back when he was doing one of those suplexes. But Brock wins in a short match, and it seemed like that was always going to be the case. I think Brock really needed to get back a win here at WrestleMania when he hasn't won in so long. But honestly, take it or leave it. It's fine. It opened the show. The crowd was really hot for it. Brock Lesnar is still one of the guys that draws a ton of fan reaction, and it's no surprise he's in the opening spot because he's not main event to get him the fuck out of there. So, which he stayed around actually, which is kind of surprising for Raw. Thoughts on this match, guys?
This match actually gave me less than I expected of it, which is shocking because we weren't expecting much. We were expecting probably like 8 minutes, 9 minutes. It gave us 5 minutes. Omos took the pin after one F5. I wanted him to at least kick out of one. I mean, I think that makes him look incredibly weak after like as one of the biggest men in WWE history is 7'3". Brock needed the win, so I'm happy that he picked up the win. A lot of people are saying that this match like kicked off a better show than night one with Theory and Cena, which I completely disagree with. I think yeah, I see Sean's face now. Blasphemous, which I completely disagree with. But I mean, it was a good start to night two. Brock probably had a flight at like 5:30, so he wanted to get out of there fairly quick and just get out of the arena. If he's not main event, you know he's coming out first. So I mean, Brock got a huge pop. And actually, the day before, we actually saw an interview with Omos, which was pretty cool at the Wrestling Superstore. It was cool to see a different side of him as well. But I mean, it was an okay start. I think it's what we expected. I don't have much more to say about that.
Yeah, like going into WrestleMania for this match, I thought this match would probably be 5 to 8 minutes tops. It ends up being the lower end. I think it was less than 5 minutes. I think it was like 4 minutes and like 55 seconds or something. It went pretty much how I expected it to go. Little to no actual wrestling and, variation of movesets. Omos, couple power slams. Brock, slam to the corner. F5, German suplex. I do agree that Omos should not have been pinned by one F5. I felt like he should have went through adversity. That Brock should have actually had to go through a lot of effort to actually slay the giant, and it just felt like Omos had a quick advantage, and then Brock took him out, and then Omos to me just doesn't look like there's any momentum for him. That's the unfortunate part because if he's supposed to be like the next guy that's gonna be the big giant, kind of like a Big Show type of factor, I just don't see where you go from here with them. I feel like Omos has already peaked, and this match is kind of like David versus Goliath, and that's pretty much it. Nothing really else to add to it.
Yeah, we saw where he went after this on Monday Night Raw. He had the opening match with Elias. That was 2 minutes. So, obviously, moving on up in the world for Omos, going from Brock Lesnar to Elias. But yeah, the match was exactly what I expected, in my opinion. The next match was probably, if we're not including the inclusion matches, not the best match on the card either. So it was the women's showcase. This one disappointed a little bit for me in many ways. The winners were Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, who neither of them seemed to do any moves in this match. It seemed like they were very much outside of the ring, hurt, or whatever the fuck was going on with them. There was some cool Natty hit she had the submission on two people. There was a few other cool spots between Liv and Raquel. They seemed to still shine pretty well. And I thought Shotzi actually did pretty well in this match, which I was happy she got some shine. This match was very similar to the men's, though, in terms of length. It was 8:30 or something like that. Yeah, it was 8:25. So not long, but it was nowhere near as entertaining as the men's showcase was for that amount of time. This match was just lacking something for me, and the winners, very predictable for us. I think we all predicted Ronda and Shayna to win, but it just did not. It didn't jump off the page, or anything they really did really kind of stood out to me.
Yeah, Ronda and Shayna definitely needed the win. I think Ronda's dealing with some sort of injury, so maybe that's why she wasn't really in the match too much. The match card order was leaked beforehand, and I was like, man, guys, I gotta go to the bathroom right now. And Jeremy was like, well, the triple threat match is next for the IC title. Now's your chance. So I missed pretty much that whole match live. But like Jeremy said, I went back and rewatched it on TV. That match didn't deliver too much. I think the showcase matches were really put together just to get some extra people on the card that they think deserve to be on the card. The men's absolutely delivered. It had all the athleticism, the moves. This match lacked all of that, I think. And I'm a big fan of a lot of the people in that ring. I think there are a lot of athletes in that ring, like Liv Morgan, Raquel, Shotzi. I like Ronda, even if she's hurt. I like Shayna. I could really care less about Natty. I've always been a Sonya Deville fan,
Fuck
and
Natty.
then Chelsea Green. I mean, it is what it is with her right now.
She's
So
fine.
yeah, she's fine. It is what it is. I like the
Yeah.
outcome. I mean, I'm glad that they gave them a little bit of time, 8 minutes, to see what they could do. They really didn't do that much with the 8 minutes, but I mean, I'm fine with the outcome. This was basically just a filler match on the card.
Yeah, the matches felt very lackluster. It felt like it was like a 50% type of match where, Liv and Raquel, they excel like they always do. Raquel is one of my favorites on the roster. She's an absolute powerhouse. Liv Morgan, to me, is probably one of the most improved, if not the most improved women's wrestler. They had a really cool spot when Raquel had her up over her shoulder and did like a power bomb into like outside the ring. That was a cool spot. Natty had a good spot, like Jeremy mentioned, with like the double sharpshooter. Other than that, Sonya, who also I am a fan of, it just seems like with her they got nothing for her. So there's kind of just throwing up like a random tag partner. And Chelsea Green, as much as she's been very entertaining with like the Karen character, it just like it was kind of like a filler match. It's like, all right, we're missing a tag team, let's throw them in there. Shotzi was okay, but to me, in ring, there's just something missing. Every match with her recently has been very slow paced. I don't know if it's just like a confidence builder that she needs, but I just felt like she didn't really deliver as much. Not Natty, Ronda clearly was injured. She probably had the least amount of in ring time. So if that's the case, I understand why she did a little to nothing. Shayna, who obviously is very respectable, also they gave her really nothing much in there. So right winners, I'm glad to see because I do want to see Shayna and Ronda get a big boost going forward because obviously Shayna was one of the best NXT women under Triple H on Black and Gold. And then Ronda Rousey, we're all fans of Ronda, what she can do, when she's in her bag. So the right winners, but a very lackluster match overall, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would honestly maybe go as far as this. This may have been the worst match of the weekend. I'm not sure, but it's probably close. If I'm really thinking about it in terms of what I was looking forward to. We go from one of the worst matches potentially of the weekend to one of the best matches of the weekend, and one that going into it, I thought would be one of the best matches, and I was absolutely correct. And I thought it was one of the better. Could be a top 3 match. It's up there. It's very close. That just proves how good this card was. So next we had the triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship. We had Drew McIntyre finally changing up his wardrobe from just the black trunks to the white trunks this time, which was fucking fantastic. We had Sheamus and we had Gunther. Gunther's entrance was fantastic. Getting the slow intro, which was really, really cool. What a match. Holy shit. These guys basically beat the shit out of each other for 16 minutes. It was, and when I say that, I literally mean these guys must have been laying in the back because there was a picture that was sent out after between Sheamus and McIntyre that they were going for drinks and pints after because they looked like they were laying in the back like they just went to literal war. So this match for me had a lot of exactly what I was looking for. Very physical. There were spots in this match where they seemed to chop each other's chests for a solid like 15 to 20 times. I thought it was so interesting that everyone was really highlighted at the correct time and the crowd was still very over for Sheamus. I think a lot of people in that crowd really wanted Sheamus to get his IC title win and to complete that Grand Slam champion, which I'm shocked because WWE loves their fucking Grand Slam champions. But that did not happen. Gunther ended up retaining. I knew after a little while, I think Chris, or maybe it was Sean, turned to me and was like, Gunther hasn't been in the ring in a long time. It's just been Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. And I was like, oh, God, here he comes. And then I think Chris pointed him out that he was getting up. And I was like, oh, fuck, it's over. I was completely fine with him also winning. Because I think the people that should have won that match were either Sheamus or Gunther. If McIntyre won, I don't think it really would have made sense. So I think McIntyre was really in there to eat the pin, to be fair. So, but what a match. The spots in here, everyone got their finishers off. It was just so good. Gunther power bombs Sheamus on top of McIntyre, and then power bombs McIntyre to win the match. It was about 16 minutes, but it felt a bit longer watching it on television, and it felt like it was like a 20-minute beat the shit out of each other type of match. And I was eating it all in person, and watching it back, it just made it so much better.
Yeah, this was an absolutely incredible match. And, you know, me and Jeremy got interviewed at the Superstore by Tantalizing Tony, and Jeremy said that match was going to steal the show and the entire weekend. And if it's not top 3 for the weekend, it's definitely the 4th best, in my opinion. And honestly, I mean, I know there's been a lot of like nostalgic Intercontinental Championship matches in the history of WrestleMania. This might have been the best of all time as far as an Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania. Other ones that compare, obviously, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon in the ladder match. I know Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage had a match for that title that was incredible as well. But I think this rivals those.
For sure.
Like you said, all 3 men were spotlighted in that ring at the right time. And I remember at one point, you looked at me and you were like, do people really want Drew to win right now? Because the crowd didn't know who to go with. They were all over the place. They're rooting for Sheamus, Gunther, McIntyre gets a reaction, and he was in the white gear. So if someone's in white gear, they can always have that chance to win.
Very true. That is a running joke amongst our friend group. Usually, whoever comes out in white, we say there's a good chance that they win because it's proven to be correct.
Yep, me and Jeremy are big fig collectors, so that would be a very toyetic fig for Drew McIntyre. He's always with the black, so white would be nice for a change. But this was incredible. They were chopping the shit out of each other. You know, the power bombs by Gunther, McIntyre with the Claymore, Sheamus with the Brogue kicks. They were just beating the crap out of each other for 16 minutes straight. And honestly, it probably could have gone longer. But like you said, in person, it felt like it was 20, 25 minutes. And then watching it on TV, you're like, okay, maybe that was a 16-minute match. But it was incredible. Those men delivered just like we thought they would. I'm shocked Sheamus didn't get the win because that's who I picked as well. I think we all picked Sheamus. We thought that was going to be his moment at WrestleMania to win that title. Gunther held on, which I'm okay with. But now I'm wondering who the hell is going to beat that man? Because right now it looks like nobody. That man's going to be the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time at this point.
Yep.
Great match.
Unless Roman wants a crack at the IC belt.
With Vince back in charge, you never know.
With 3 titles on him, Jesus.
That's true. Yeah, this match was absolutely incredible. If you take away like any storylines and just focus strictly in ring, this probably was a top 3 match, debatably. The spots that were displayed, Gunther, like you guys said, with the power bombs, Sheamus with like the chops against the ring. At one point, I think he got up to like 29 at one point in a row. Yep. I'm like, damn, Sheamus does not get tired, and he keeps going. We saw some claymores. There were like 2 spots in the match where I thought Sheamus was going to win. I'm just like, all right, Gunther's clearly outside the ring. Sheamus, this is for the taking, and the fact that you have a match where like you go into it and you think that a win is going to happen, I love those matches, and we're going to go into like more of the card down the line. But this WrestleMania had a bunch of those like type feels where it's like, oh my gosh, Sheamus is going to do it. And all 3 of us had Sheamus, and it was an excellent match. Got no problem with Gunther retaining because Gunther is an all-time great, and he's holding that IC title with pride, and he's delivering every single match he's had. What else can I say about that? That was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because who does beat him? That is the real question, because now you have to build someone up, because it's not going to be Sheamus, it's not going to be Drew McIntyre now. They have to take someone that's elevated to a mid-card status that is going to be, first of all, probably a face, because he's a heel, technically, even though he gets cheered. I'm trying to think of a guy that would be able to take it right now, so maybe he's just going to retain for a while, because I really don't see it right now. LA Knight?
Yeah.
I would love Johnny Gargano. I would love to see that.
So I feel like
Gargano would be cool.
I feel like if Triple H is still the one in charge of creative, it's going to be somebody who they're going to try to build back up, whether it's Pete Dunne.
Yep.
If he goes back to Pete Dunne, because we know him and Gunther had a huge rivalry in NXT, if they call up Dragunov at some point. I know we talked about that as well because he's the one who took the UK championship. I feel like it's going to be somebody who they're going to have to build up. I could see
LA Knight.
I mean, LA Knight could possibly be another one if that's the push that they're really trying for. I mean, I could definitely see him get an Intercontinental Championship run. But the thing that I really appreciate about Gunther is he's made that championship meaningful again. And I know The Miz kind of carried that division, that mid-card division, for a long time. But I think Gunther has done so much more for it. I think he has been the one to really get Sheamus over. And I hate to say that, but I mean, I don't think Sheamus could have got as over without Gunther and McIntyre as he has.
They've had a good, between them, they've both elevated each other, and I think they were like necessary adversaries for that belt specifically as well, because Sheamus, like, I think Sheamus has always been liked by fans, but I think the past like year and a half, doing the Brawling Brutes and also like his wars with Gunther, that's put him way over, I think, than he's ever been before.
Yep.
Really nice guy, dude. Also, just to sidetrack, so we did get the opportunity to take a picture with Sheamus. It was funny because we were standing there for a while. He was doing an interview at the Superstore as well, but we got there towards the end of the interview, and he was seemingly trying to leave, and all the fans kept lining up for him that were back there. And we were like looking at each other, and I was like, "Oh, should we go do it?" I was like, "I hate to stress the guy out," but I was like, "I don't want to miss the opportunity." So we went over there, and then so Sean and I went over first, and Chris sat out. And
I felt bad for the guy.
Yeah, it was funny because we ended up getting up to him.
I want to meet Sheamus.
Exactly, I wanted to meet Sheamus. And so we get up there, and then he basically calls us over, and then he points to Chris because he kind of knew we were like together, and he's like, "Is he with you?" He's like, "Come over here."
Get over here.
It was really cool though, but you could tell like he stuck around, and this was, there wasn't like a ton of people there in the VIP section, but like he stayed and made sure everyone that was in that section got a picture with him and got that opportunity, which I thought was super cool. You can tell he really cares because out of everyone that did interviews, he was also the only one to stay after and do pictures, which was super cool.
Very cool.
The next match after that, so we'll see where they go from there. The next match, I also, we thought this match would be good, but I thought this, watching it back again, I also thought this was a little bit better than I thought it was in person, was Bianca versus Asuka. And I think this match, we knew the story absolutely sucked, but it would deliver in the ring. And that's exactly what it did, to be fair. This was also about 16 minutes, 16:05. I thought it was very creative. Some of the spots they did were very creative. And towards the end of the match, Asuka tried to use the mist to win. And Bianca, I think, must have been like one of the first people that actually dodged the mist. Because I'm not sure if I have not seen it work on someone. So that was cool, and Bianca did win. Shout out to the dancers. The dancers from Compton, they did Bianca's entrance, which I thought was super cool. Asuka had a great entrance as well. The whole showcase of the superstars this weekend was, their entrances were all seemingly great. They seemed to go above and beyond for most on the card, which they don't always do that for everyone. So I thought they did a really good job. Maybe it's just because it's Hollywood and they wanted to do a little bit more. But I was really appreciative of that because Asuka had multiple people on the stage that looked like her and that dressed like her. That was really cool. And then the dancers for Bianca I thought was awesome. The match itself, was very good. There's really not much else to say besides I knew it was going to be very good, and it was very good. Bianca went over, which I thought was interesting, and you've seen kind of the fallout now of Asuka's 0-5 at WrestleMania, and I don't know what's going on, but she did have some tweets after as well, and on Raw, talking about, maybe she just wants to go back to Japan or whatever the hell was going on. Maybe she was just mad. I'm not sure. But the match itself was good.
This was definitely a good match. Being there live, I think this one was a little quiet at first. people were paying attention to some other stuff going on behind us. There were some superstars in like a VIP lounge. There was Rhea Ripley, Dom. People weren't even really paying attention to this match, but it ended up being a really good match. And not, I mean, maybe for game purposes, maybe not for game purposes. I think this was, the most defeated I was in a match at WrestleMania this weekend. And like I said, I picked Asuka for 9. I thought this was going to be her moment. I mean, she's been a Money in the Bank winner. She's won a Royal Rumble. She won that Chamber match. And she is now 0-5 at WrestleMania, which is really disappointing because of how good she actually is. And I know it would be difficult to give someone a championship that can't cut promos because there's a language barrier there. I get that. But she's as talented as anybody else, especially for her age. And, maybe Bianca wasn't the right person to put her with, because right now Bianca can't lose either because she's one of the top baby faces in that women's division. But I was so disappointed after this match. I sat there with my head in my hands, kneeled over, like, why? Why did you not just pull the trigger on Asuka, give her win at WrestleMania? Because at this point, she's going to go winless at WrestleMania. She's only getting older. She's in her early 40s. She's saying something about going back to Japan at this point. Who knows what's left for her? Maybe she's probably the most defeated woman in that locker room right now. She can't pick up a win at WrestleMania, which is insane after having her win all these different things in her career. So I feel bad for her. I think it was a great match. Like you said, the presentation of the entrances was fantastic for both of them. I really hoped Asuka was going to win that match, but I'm still fine with Bianca keeping the title as well.
Yeah, it was a good match. But I honestly feel that out of the 3 WrestleManias that Bianca's had, this is probably the worst match out of the 3. And that's not saying that this is a bad match, because if you look at it, to me, Sasha and Bianca at 37 is the greatest women's match ever. And then a close second, well, as far as Bianca matches, I loved Bianca and Becky at 30. I thought Becky put on all-time greatness at that Mania as well. We all know what Bianca can do. So the spots in this match were good, but it just felt like it was kind of the same stuff a little bit. Like Asuka, like she does very well at what she does with the kicks, the technical wrestling. Bianca didn't really need to like kind of show much effort in this match. It felt like, even though the match like was decently timed, but I felt like comparing like her with the other like women, that there was more of a back and forth. There was more like adversity, more like grind that they had to like display. But this match kind of felt like you knew what was going to happen. It's kind of like, when are we going to see the KOD? I do love the miss spot. That was really cool. I thought the referee was going to end up taking the miss shot, and then there was going to be like an interference that was going to cause Asuka to win, and then Asuka become heel. That would have been very intriguing to see if she were to get her first WrestleMania win. I am very disappointed that Asuka is 0-5 now, because, I don't understand either. I think she should have beat Charlotte at WrestleMania 34. I don't know about you guys.
Yes.
She should have had some other wins down the line as well. So I don't blame her if she wants to go back to Japan. And then we know what's going to happen when Vince is back. Well, he's already back. It's probably going to get 10 times worse for her. Overall, decent match. To me, I think at this point they had to give it to Bianca, because Bianca, unfortunately, with Asuka, where are you going to get your promos from? Like, where's the story then? Then where does Bianca go from there? I feel like they're just trying to ride that Bianca momentum as long as possible, and then set up, Rhea Ripley for WrestleMania 40, which we kind of got a little tease on Raw for.
Can't wait for that shit. That is going to be amazing whenever they do bout. Boy. And then we switch gears to an absolute shit show of a segment, of a match, whatever the fuck was going on here. So we have Miz and Snoop Dogg come back in the ring. Miz was a popular gentleman. I did not think he'd be this popular to have 3 matches at WrestleMania. So Miz and Snoop are in the ring, and then we hear Shane O'Mac's music. Wow. I am personally... I might be different than these two. I have no interest, really, in seeing Shane O'Mac back. He's always done some insane spots at WrestleMania. I can respect that. For me, He's over the hill, past his time. His punches suck. This immediately screamed Vince McMahon to me to bring his fucking son out there to have a segment. And I thought to myself, wow, this is gonna blow. So Shane goes in and they're ready to have a match, him and fucking Miz. Vince McMahon is to blame for this. He brings his son down to have a match with Miz. The first Irish whip, he whips Miz off of the ropes, goes under him, he comes back, and then he jumps over him, lands, and he blows out his fucking leg. And what did he tear his quad? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Torn quad, yeah.
His fucking quadricep. And then what the fuck is going on? So this was the first of 2 injuries that were ridiculous tonight. Fuck. Snoop Dogg comes back in the ring. What an opportunity for Snoop too. What I will say about this opportunity was Snoop was thinking quick on his feet, and I think he got a direction to say, "Go back in the fucking ring and let's finish this match." Because Shane was done. Shane couldn't walk. Clocks Miz right in the fucking mouth once and then twice, and then sets up the worst but funniest people's elbow I've ever seen. And Snoop wins the match, because Snoop is now in the match all of a sudden. But I could have absolutely fucking done without this segment. And what frustrates me even more is the fact that this meant we did not get LA Knight and we did not get Bobby Lashley. They were booked for a segment, and what we got from Bobby Lashley on this show was coming out with his fucking trophy, his Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy, and doing like this to the crowd. Woo! Bobby Lashley, I won the fucking Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Wow. And we got no LA Knight. That said enough. Shane O'Mac was out there. I did not enjoy it at all. I thought it was funny that what Snoop did, but it's not like I enjoyed that. So this was like the downer of the show for me. So that was a little disappointing. Do you guys want to say anything about this shit?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. So.
Oh, yes.
I've always been a big Shane fan. I think Jeremy might have been a little harsh with the criticism of Shane. I definitely was happy to see him come back. He got a huge pop. I don't think this was the moment for him to come back, though, at WrestleMania. Like Jeremy said, we could have used Bobby. We could have used LA Knight. LA Knight is the most over guy in fucking WWE right now.
Not as over
with
as Shane O'Mac.
With his yeah chant, and we didn't get to see him once, so that was very disappointing. I think Stephanie is probably the only person in the family that hasn't torn her quad at this point, which is so Shane's just following in his father's footsteps now, clearly. And then shout out to whoever tweeted, "Here comes the money," and then 5 minutes later tweeted, "Down goes the money." That had me rolling for hours.
I was dying.
I thought that was funny. Snoop Dogg, like you said, funniest people's elbow I've ever seen. He barely touched the ropes every time he jumped over the Miz. I thought it was so funny. But, Snoop Dogg's a Hall of Famer for a reason, and he picked up a win at WrestleMania against the Miz. So that's what I have to say about that.
He's 1-0. All right. Let me start by positives. Shane O'Mac draws an audience. It was very cool to see him.
Jeremy's shaking.
He was not needed at this WrestleMania. Was not needed. LA Knight should have been in that spot. We should have seen Bobby Lashley in a match. Snoop delivered, even though it was the worst people's elbow I've ever seen, it was the funniest people's elbow. Now for the negatives. Vince McMahon. How the fuck do you do that to your son? You put him in a match and put him in harm's way. I got 2005 Royal Rumble all over again flashbacks of his father blowing both his quads out from stumbling in the ring. This was not needed one bit. I don't see the humor in having Miz even compete in 2 matches at WrestleMania. That was a joke to the beginning. He's excellent as far as popularity. Miz deserves to be the host. He should not have had a match. I don't even like the McAfee match. That was a joke as well. Having Shane O'Mac come back at this age, I have no problem with him having a match, but I wish it should have been pre-planned ahead of time. If you want to throw him on the card, no problem. Shane always delivers and puts on quality matches. To do an impromptu like that and keep LA Knight off the card when we actually met his brother over the weekend at the Hard Rock Cafe, kind of teasing that his brother was going to be on the show. I was very disappointed that didn't end up happening. Whether he was originally scheduled and Vince just called an audible and was like, you know what, we're not having it. LA Knight on this card. We can't do that. But
that was the Ruben spot.
Exactly. I will say this though, shout out to Snoop though for having the awareness, whether he got the production speaker in his ear or not. That was a great way to make things not be awkward because they took, when I watched it on TV, if any of the fans watched it as well, soon as Shane leaped up for the leapfrog and blew the quad out, they immediately took the camera off him. So it was very cool that Snoop came in now and kind of unexpectedly punched to the Miz twice and then the people's elbow. That was really cool. Shout out to Snoop for that, but my God, was this absolutely awful in general.
When he got in the ring, you first looked at Shane and he was like, "You alright, cuz?" And
yeah, you all good, cuz? How you do my boy like that?
Nice. Snoop getting out of the ring talking into the mic was hilarious.
Yeah.
He's like, "You got this is what you do. I'll be right back. I'm over here." It was so funny.
Or I don't do this, you do this. I'm just a rapper. Good luck, bro.
What I'll say is I'll be satisfied if Shane O'Mac does not come back for any WrestleMania anymore. He's past his time. He got a pop, but for me, it's just he got a pop from probably. Don't get me wrong, I cheered him a little bit, but he is more popular with the fair weather and the all around wrestling fan than he is with the diehards, because the diehards wanted LA Knight and Lashley and the guys who deserve to be on the card.
Yep.
The next match after that dog shit, the Shane, what am I talking about? Shane, I'm still talking about Shane. The Cell came down, and it was time for Hell in a Cell. So, better than I expected. After what happened in this match, wasn't sure what was actually going to happen. So, for entrances, again, killer entrances for both. Edge came out as Brood Edge. Little disappointed there was no Gangrel and there wasn't any original Brood music. Sean brought that to my attention as well, and I agree. It was, even watching it back, I was like, they kind of missed the ball there. They could have had that. But Edge came down, had this wild skull on, and really, really cool stuff. And we did get to hear Metalingus once the Brood part ended, which I thought was fucking fantastic because everyone was singing the song. And then the Demon came down and had purple in it, just like we said. It had purple, it had red. Balor also went back to the original theme for the Demon, which I thought was fucking great. Watching it back, when the lights go on and he puts his arms up, that's a moment. When you are able to see that in a whole big crowd of 80,000 people, that is a moment. So it's very, very cool, and it's very cool to be a part of. The match itself started out pretty good. They got very physical, very fast, but also got a lot of things involved very fast. So they had, chairs. They had color chairs, red and purple, kendo sticks, and they got to a lot of action. Here's what I'm going to say before I move forward with anything else in this match. I fucking can't stand crowds that chant, "We want tables," or "We want ladders," or shit like that. For me, that would completely throw me off my game, but it would make me as a performer not want to fucking do any of that. You ungrateful.
I looked over you, Jeremy. I saw how pissed off you were when they started doing that.
And in any show, they did it on the NXT show as well. For the fucking, I do not understand it. If it's part of the match, it will be part of the match. Just let them get to it. I think it takes the suspense and the thrill out of it. Exciting things. They brought tables out. Edge brought 2 tables out during this match. It's not like it wasn't going to happen. So, for me, yeah, I can't fucking stand that. The spot that we need to talk about, obviously, Edge brought a ladder into the ring. This was probably, I would say, this match in total was 18 minutes. This was probably, 6-7 minutes into the match, maybe, something like that.
Yeah, it was early.
About that, yeah.
And so not as early as I thought, but still early. And he basically grabs the ladder, goes into the ring, and chucks the ladder at Balor. And let me tell you what, watching this back a couple times, his head whiplashed so hard when he got basically hit directly in the fucking head and face by this ladder. He still had his hands up, which I thought was shocking. Like, I didn't realize he, like, actually braced for it, and he still got almost knocked out, it seemed. Balor, this is, tough son of a bitch, because this guy got, 12 or 13 staples in his fucking head, ringside. And I think it was shortened on the Peacock replay. Because when we were there, it seemed like the delay was a little bit longer. And on TV, they adjusted it, which I thought was cool. And, it won't, I guess, disrupt the match flow. But Edge did a good job here as well. And I'm not sure if Edge was told to do this. But I thought was also great, was he was looking for other weapons while the Demon was being treated. And I thought that, took, especially being there, I think that took the crowd away from Balor and put it on Edge. Like, what was he going to do next? I thought that was great. And great timing by these guys. They did a fantastic job with these two injuries and these people kind of stepping up and kind of getting the attention off of them. But Balor all of a sudden fucking sits up once all those fucking staples are in his head. And he basically goes on to put on a fantastic match for the rest of this time. Because it was like 12 minutes after that, or 11 minutes. They were not even halfway through the match. And to go through the match, an 18-minute match, which is longer than almost everything on the card, and to do what they did, there was a lot of coup de grace spots. One was through the table that Edge ducked out of the way. I thought that was great. Everything was physical, and I thought the Demon was portrayed very well. The problem is the Demon has now lost twice in a row. I think that's a mistake here. Like Chris said about Asuka, I think the same thing about Balor and the Demon specifically. I understand Edge needed to finish the story, but for me, the tag team match was enough for him to finish, and I kind of said that in a previous review. So I was very surprised Balor did not go over here. I was fine with the result, obviously. I love both, so I'm fine with both. And I guess it doesn't make Balor look bad. To me, it just makes the Demon look bad. But maybe, the only thing I think that maybe saves him from that is the fact that he was actually fucking injured and he fought through it. Like, it was really, really wild. So, great match, produced very well. And in terms of thinking on the fly again, I thought this was great.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it right after the match that somebody tweeted, "You can't kill what's already dead."
Yeah.
As far as the Demon, and I think he has that going for him as well. Is like, I think this man can take pinfalls as the Demon, and people will still get excited to see him, and he'll still be way scarier as that character than regular Finn Balor. But this was incredible. I said to you guys as well that performance after getting his head bashed open is up there with Cody wrestling with a torn pec. Obviously, it's different. Cody couldn't move his arm or anything like that. But being there live, I don't think we thought this match was going to continue. No. Usually when somebody goes down like that, they're not getting up and they're calling that match off. So obviously we didn't know what was happening live. Because
I thought I was devastated, to be honest, because I thought it was going to stop. 2 injuries in a row. Basically.
Right, I remember.
2 injuries, yeah, exactly.
Sean said, "Oh, did he hurt his arm?" Like, we couldn't tell really what happened.
Yeah.
But then we're looking at the big screen and we look up and we see, oh shit, his head is like there's blood in the ring.
Yeah, his head got fucked up.
Obviously, we went back to the ladder spot and we knew that's what it was. To put on the performance after that is incredible. I've never seen someone get their head stapled shut ringside in my entire life. And we've been watching wrestling for 20 years. Maybe it has happened before. I've never seen it. So the fact that it was also the Demon that it happened to, I think that does a lot for his character as well, even though he took a loss. But like you said, the coup de grace through the table when he was up on top of the cell, that was sick. Wow. And to end the match with a concerto for Edge, with the staples still in this man's head,
very
not knowing,
story-centric and even more brutal.
Right, like not knowing if you could actually split his head open more with that shot. Perfect ending to the
exactly.
match. I'm glad that we got to. I mean, I'm very surprised that we didn't get Priest and Gangrel because Gangrel was in LA. He was at a house show 2 days before, so I'm shocked that they didn't get involved. And I'm also wondering if the match was going to maybe go a little bit longer than it did, but maybe the injury caused it to be less. But I think 18 minutes was still fantastic for the match. It was a great match. I was happy with the outcome. And I'm glad that Edge picked up the win.
And I think before you go, I think the other thing is you said it could have gone longer. Watching it back, I thought they were gonna cut it like short on one of those roll ups, and when we were live, I was like, if he rolls him up here, I feel like he's gonna beat him.
There were a few close ones.
Yeah, this match was excellent. This was the match I was looking forward to the most, maybe excluding the main event, of course. But first of all, the entrances from both of these guys was phenomenal. I personally want to see the original, Brute theme song, but that's okay. Like, Metalingus is still phenomenal with whatever version they do. So that was great. Balor coming out there with the purple was excellent. In ring, I mean, for what they did with that spot, I mean, Cody and Finn Balor are always going to be in my graces for their toughness. What Cody did when he tore his pec, and then what we saw Sunday with Balor with that giant gash, not many people would have been able to continue for that long. Normally, they would have probably been like, whisper to the referee, all right, let's just audible, let's get a quick pinfall, roll up, whatever. I was also worried that this match was going to be cut short. I thought they were going to do something where Edge gets a quick spear, 1, 2, 3. I'm glad that did not happen. I'm not sure how you guys felt, but when I watched it live compared to TV, live it felt a lot shorter, but when I rewatched it on TV, it felt like a lot extended, which is really cool to see. Because you got to see a ton of great spots. The coup de grace through the table where Edge got out of the way. Edge did an execution from on top of the ladder, which is excellent. Like, the chair shots, the tables that were involved, they were using weapons all over the place. It was a phenomenal matchup. It was a 50-50 booking because I agree with Jeremy that Balor probably needed this victory more than Edge did because Edge is kind of a made man already. And you hate to see the Demon take 2 losses in a row. On the other side, Edge comes in as a babyface. Usually the good guy usually wins those type of matches. So it was a tough pick for me even. I wanted to put a low number on this, but due to limitations, I couldn't put a 1 on this one either because this is a 50-50 booking. But both guys showed out, and I am glad that Finn Balor is okay. And he's healing very quickly with the staples that he got in his fucking head.
Yeah, Triple H did confirm that he's fine. He talked to him in the back. But, yeah, shout out to Balor for being a real one. Unbelievable. So this match ended, and it was time for the creme de la creme, the main event of WrestleMania Night 2 and WrestleMania as a whole. It was time for Cody Rhodes, the prodigal son, against the tribal chief Roman Reigns. Was he going to complete the story and win at WrestleMania? Well, the short answer, obviously, is no. But let me tell you what. This match, and I think it's debatable, but I can pretty firmly say now, watching it again and watching it twice, I've watched it twice now, is the best main event at a WrestleMania. I think it rivals WrestleMania 17 with Stone Cold and The Rock. And this is Roman Reigns' I think biggest accomplishment since being undisputed Universal Champion. The biggest opponent he's beaten in terms of actually quality in the ring. No offense to Seth Rollins, I just think this moment's a bit bigger. And granted, Seth Rollins could be that person next year, and that will be the bigger moment. But this match was 34-35, almost 35 minutes, and worth every bit of every second of your time for this match. The entrances alone were fucking great again, obviously. Cody has one of the most over entrances, and Roman's was the most time I think I've ever spent besides The Undertaker watching someone come down to the fucking ring. And I think it was clocked in at 7.5 minutes. But, again, watching this back, I say this to them all the time, because Roman has never, before Tribal Chief, I was never a big Roman Reigns fan. When you see that man come down the ring at this point in time, you see the absolute alpha number 1 star in the company. And I do not think it's close. Because just the bravado, the slow-paced walk, everything about his character is portrayed when he comes down to the ring, and it is perfect for his character. And this match also brought Roman Reigns a little bit more to his in-ring ability. He did the drive-by. I won probably almost every over-under we did. We did over-unders before the match started. And we were talking about how many Superman punches, how many spears, how many Cody cutters, and would he do the drive-by or not. They both exceeded expectations. For me, I know what I'm getting with Cody, and he's a fantastic wrestler. Roman continues to deliver on the wrestling end for me as well, because his matches now keep getting better and better and better. It's a shame that I have to compliment him so much because he's not on TV every week. But what I will say is when he is in TV and he's in these big matches, the matches feel so important. And every match is important. And Cody Rhodes, the biggest opponent, the crowd was so behind this man. Let me tell you, I think in terms of a WrestleMania main event, I still, right now sitting here, I still do not know how they did not pull the trigger on Cody Rhodes winning this match. But another part of me understands that it's okay that Roman won, and I still understand that. But for me, and as a Cody fan, it was gut-wrenching when I thought he was going to win, and he did not. And Roman still hasn't won clean, and Cody brought this up on Raw, and he said, you know, you've never had Solo or someone else not help you. And I'll tie it in a little bit later, and I'll talk about the Raw segment, but what a match between these two guys. It was something that I would book myself if I was a booker. This is like, if you were having Roman win, this is exactly the way you would want him to win and how long the match should be. Because usually these main events, you saw what happened with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar last year. I don't know how long that main event was, but maybe it was 10 minutes or some bullshit like that. This was an absolute slobber knocker, old style, just fantastic across the board. We had the Usos come out. We had Sami and Kevin come out. Everything you wanted in ending a weekend, this was.
And to let everybody know for context, when it came to this match, we were on our feet the entire time.
All 35 minutes.
Yes.
The entire time. We did not sit down.
All 80+ thousand people were on their feet the entire match.
Every person was on their feet. I don't know about anybody else, but I had anxiety this entire match as well. I had butterfly. I didn't know what was going to happen. This was probably the biggest toss-up in WrestleMania history as far as who's going to win this match, this main event. Is Roman going to continue his legacy and his reign as the undisputed Universal Champion? Is the American Nightmare going to finish the story? We had no clue. We all had ones on this match for our pick'em. Roman came out victorious, and as a Roman Reigns fan, as I have been since he came into, you know, the business, and I know Sean as well, we never gave up on this man, and I am so happy to see him delivering everything that he's doing right now. I don't know if I've ever seen, I mean, probably have in the past, but at this point in time, this is the greatest final boss that I've ever seen. I don't know who's going to beat this man at this point. Like Jeremy said, he has star written all over him. He knows how important he is to this business. His slow walk, his facial expressions, holding up both titles. He had the entire crowd in the palm of his hands. He doesn't need to say a word. He looks at the crowd and he gets a reaction. And that goes to show how much of a star that this man has become. And Cody Rhodes, let me tell you, when his entrance started and he came up through the stage and the whoa chants, that was the loudest I've ever heard anything in my entire life. So I'm with you, Jeremy. I don't know how they didn't pull the trigger, but there were some stuff in this match that I've never seen Roman do. Like I said, I've never seen him reverse a figure 4 leg lock into his own submission. This is a guy who has one submission move, and it's a guillotine, which is the most basic move anyone can do in wrestling. So the fact that he reversed Cody's figure 4 was incredible to me. And I know a lot of people can do that, whatever. But Roman went into his bag thanks to Cody. Cody forced him to be the best Roman Reigns that he could be, and he came out on top, even though he did need some help from his bloodline. Like Jeremy said, that's perfect booking. This man doesn't really win clean that often. So exactly. So the fact that he had, the Usos come out and help him, Solo came back after being ejected from the match. It was just the perfect ending. And to think that Cody didn't win here, like, we were all shocked because of how over he is with the crowd. And him coming back, winning Rumble, everything for him was about winning that championship for Dusty. And we get that he didn't go through much adversity, so they want to put him through the ringer, I think, in 2023, going into next year's WrestleMania, which I don't think is fair because of, like, he could easily walk on to Raw with those championships and be the face of the company if Roman takes a hiatus. That's easy for him. So I don't know where we go from here, but I am confident in saying that this was the greatest WrestleMania of all time and the greatest main event in WrestleMania history.
Yeah, I second what you guys say. This is the greatest WrestleMania main event ever, and probably the greatest WrestleMania ever as well. I'm going to talk in perspective from watching on TV. So I'm not sure if you guys felt the same way, but when I watched back on TV for Cody's entrance with the whoa, it sounded 10 times louder on TV than it did. And that's saying something because of how loud it was. Exactly. It was amazing. When watching for the first time on TV and then not knowing the outcome, when he went over to his family, he embraced his family. He gave like the replica belt to Brody Lee's son. I'm just like, how the fuck do you not give this man the championship?
Crying.
I'm like, this is on a
crying.
I saw that. I'm just like, how do you not give this man the belt? So I was like terrified. I'm just like, my God, what is going to happen? As far as Roman Reigns, this guy, the greatest final boss ever. Cody brought the ultimate spark I wanted to see out of Roman. It brought back shades of what Roman was like 4 years ago when he had to when he was still like the big dog, had to kind of go through the ringer with like the toughest matches. Obviously, he wasn't the biggest superstar as he is now, but he did the drive-by. We saw power bombs out of Roman, which we haven't seen in a while. Chris mentioned it, the figure four leg lock reversal, the guillotine we've seen. He was doing some suplexes. He was mixing up with Cody, and I love to see that out of Roman because Cody is the type of opponent that, you get up for. He's one of the biggest stars in the game. There were so many spots in this match where I thought Roman was going to lose. When Cody did the crossroads, then he did a second crossroads, I'm like, this is it. And then Roman kicking out. And then when the Usos came out, and then we had Sami and KO interfere. KO does a stunner to Roman. And then we see the haluva kick out of Sami. I'm like, that's it. I'm like, Cody's got this in the bag. And then when Roman kicked out at 2 in 7/8 or whatever you want, fraction you want to do, I'm like, all right, I think Roman's going to get this now. And then sure enough, after Solo got kicked out of the building, he has a sweatshirt on, a mask somewhat. He does a Samoan spike to Cody while the referee is distracted from Paul Heyman. And then Roman goes through the side ring, does it again, spear to Cody, and then the 1, 2, 3. The place, everyone was on their feet. It was a very shocking ending, but at the same time, a lot of people deep down felt like, you know what, we get it. We understand why he retained. But I think a majority of the people were disappointed as well as far as wanting Cody. But as far as terms of the match quality, I don't think there's a single person that can say that was a bad match. That was one of the greatest matches, if not the greatest, in the modern day era. So shout out to both these gentlemen. It was an amazing WrestleMania and cap off to an amazing night.
Yeah, I think the other thing too here is when I think back on it and watching the Raw segment, what's a little more depressing is Cody on Raw came out, and it just seemed like the steam in the crowd was lost for him. And they have now done this twice, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, or I mentioned it offline. They passed on Sammy and they passed on Cody for two of the hottest baby faces you could ever have up against Roman. The adversity thing is a tough argument for me because, you know, he had a torn pec. That was part of his story. Like, he was out 9 months. He came back and won the Rumble. I understand what they're talking about when they say adversity. So now, they are the problem with this is now, they're going to bank on Cody getting as hot as humanly possible again. The same kind of hot that he was going into this WrestleMania, they want him to have. And what was very interesting, in the Paul Heyman segment, he said you're not having a rematch at any of the pay-per-views that he mentioned. He mentioned Survivor Series, SummerSlam, Backlash, all these pay-per-views. The only one he did not say was WrestleMania. What I took from that is, I think this story is going to go on for another year. And next year at WrestleMania, you're going to have a repeat of the same match, as long as they're both healthy. You will have Cody Rhodes challenging Roman Reigns for the title, and Cody will finish the story then, next year. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm booking it right now, and I'm thinking about it right now I think that's what's going to happen next year. We have the same match. It's going to be just as good, to be fair. And I think Cody goes over this time. And the only part of that frustrates me is we have to wait a whole nother year. And for me, I just can't see how they fill a whole nother year of Roman not being on TV every week. It's the same thing they did with.
And you also have to top. If that match happens again, you have to top what you just did on night 2 of 39. So that's already like big shoes to fill. And going back to like Monday Night Raw with Cody, how they won again through like adversity. I think it's funny that I'm not sure if you guys saw that there was reports from like Fightful Select and other sources that Brock being on Raw to attack Cody was planned a month in advance. Let me tell you why I know that's bullshit. That's bullshit because 2 weeks before WrestleMania, it was reported that Triple H didn't even know the outcome of what Cody and Roman was going to be. So how can you plan for Brock versus Cody a month in advance when 2 weeks ahead of time, Triple H didn't even know who was going to be the winner? So I just don't understand where this is going. I get why Brock Lesnar is doing it from like a Vince McMahon standpoint, and he's still a big superstar, and we love Brock. But it's like Brock and Cody have no history. The only thing you're really going to sell me on is the fact that Brock is 286 pounds of pure freak muscle. That's going to be the guy to take out Cody and injure him. It's a lose-lose because, Cody, now you risk, is he going to be as hot as he was? On the flip side, Cody's clearly going to go over on Brock, which means another L for Brock. So I don't see where we're going with this. As far as down the line, what's the adversity going to be? Other than Brock Lesnar gets through him, was it going to be Omos versus Cody?
I think it's going to be Lesnar. I think it's going to be Solo. And I think it's going to be Rollins again. And potentially down the line, if Randy Orton does come back, that could be a potential match that he has to go through as well. If they do the Orton thing, it'll be tough to have Randy Orton lose when he comes back. But I do think this year will be basically Cody goes out and takes a bunch of shit from a bunch of different people and somehow comes out on top. And then you've built... Paul Heyman said, exiting WrestleMania after losing, Cody Rhodes is a bigger star than he was going in. Don't get me wrong, the match was incredible. But I don't necessarily think that, and neither do the fans on Monday Night Raw that were this week, because they would have cheered him even heavier if that was the case. Don't get me wrong, they still popped for the whoa, but they didn't cheer him when he first came out like they did when he previously, like on SmackDown when we went. They were loud the entire time. So...
Also, on Raw, why was Cody smiling and laughing on Raw? You're supposed to be pissed off that you just lost, and you're out here smiling.
To your points, like about the adversity thing, I've been thinking back on like the history of like WrestleMania and the Royal Rumbles and people's debuts and stuff like that. And obviously Cody Rhodes was around back in the early 2010s, and this is a completely different Cody Rhodes than that was. So this is basically like a new superstar to us because of how different he is. There's really never been a superstar in their first year in the business to actually win the Royal Rumble and come out on top at WrestleMania. I'm thinking back on Daniel Bryan when he didn't win the Royal Rumble and he faced adversity for basically an entire year before he got the triple threat match. I'm thinking back on somebody like John Cena when he lost to The Rock, faced a year of adversity. All of the Royal Rumble winners that I've ever seen were in the business for a very long time before actually getting that Royal Rumble win and then championship win at WrestleMania. So, like, I think I do understand that aspect of it, but at the same time, I also don't think there's ever been somebody so hot as far as how hot Cody Rhodes is with the crowd. So it's difficult. It's very difficult.
They booked themselves into a hole with obviously making this match. The thing is, I just want them to do right by both of these guys, and somehow you have to keep telling a really good story, good enough to make the people care about it just as much. Because if you don't, you are really going to run the risk of having a mediocre run as a champion when you could have pulled the trigger and really electrified the crowd.
And also, we're in a stage now with Roman where he's gone through everybody. He's beaten every single opponent you put in front of his face. If his hiatus or vacation, whatever they're calling it, is going to be this year, he's going to have to defend the belt probably only a select few times, and that's it. Because who are you going to sell me on right now? Like, I think the next pay-per-view, it talks about a six-man tag where there's going to be no title defense. It's just a six-man tag, and that's it. I personally don't like those type of matches at a pay-per-view. I want to see the World Championship defended on every single pay-per-view. That's my only gripe about Roman, because when you're the champion, you gotta be there. It was the same gripe I had about Brock Lesnar like 6 years ago. It's unfortunate because now Cody has to go through the ringer a whole other year. Roman needs to find new opponents. They need to still, I'm sure the content's going to be great as far as the storyline, because, the Bloodline storyline is 2.5 years in, and we're only a few chapters in, so I have no concerns about what the story is going to be. But as far as Cody and Roman, the road to the next WrestleMania, I just don't see where it's going to top what they just did for this one.
That's the thing. I was thinking, if he has, say, 4 title defenses in 2023 going into 2024, who is it against that's going to make us care, that's going to be worth the main event of whatever pay-per-view it might be more than Cody Rhodes? Maybe Jay.
Only Gunther.
Gunther can't lose.
If the Bloodline
right
up, we get Jey Uso. Guess what? Roman's going to win again.
Yeah.
If we get Gunther, again, like you said, he can't lose. And I don't see him going over on Roman.
Me either.
I don't see Gunther being Roman either.
Who does LA Knight get a program with him and get fucking buried?
I hope not.
Yes. Oh, buried. I think Roman will clearly beat LA Knight. Exactly. I'll guarantee that.
LA Knight would get absolutely buried in that.
The only guy
get buried again too. Whoever faces Roman at this point is going to get buried.
Fed to him. They're getting fed to him.
There's honestly only one guy I can see beating Roman, and it's Randy Orton.
I think it's the only person I can see him beating is Cody, and I think it's next year.
Right. I don't see Seth Rollins.
If it's SummerSlam, I'm fine with that too. He gets his 1,000 days, and that's fine. But from what I'm seeing and what's happening, it seems like it's going to be a long year for Cody Rhodes fans, for us Cody Rhodes fans.
Well, there's no bigger event for Roman to lose than WrestleMania.
Yeah.
If he loses at SummerSlam, that's
right.
Not as big. Him losing is going to be big, but on the grandest stage of them all, that's where it means the most.
It has to be the most, yeah.
That's why I was so shocked that they didn't pull the trigger on Cody. Yeah. So we all put a 1 on the match.
Yeah, but what I'll say is this, right? We've all said it. Potentially the best WrestleMania ever. It really was an incredible weekend of just entertainment on top of actually great wrestling matches. We can talk a little bit about now what else we did. So we've kind of mentioned it here or there. The only things I want to mention that we wrestling-wise that we didn't go into too much detail was we did attend WrestleCon on Sunday, and we were able to meet some great people. We met some cool fans. We met Adam Cole and Britt Baker. We did a photo with them. And we also did a photo. Yeah, Chris's face. He's going to crop us out of the photo and post it on his room.
Any day now.
Who says I didn't already?
Yeah, exactly. We did actually get to meet Mercedes Moné as well, Sasha Banks. Very, very cool moment. It was very cool walking around WrestleCon. It was the first time I've been to something like that. I've been to a Comic-Con before, but this was like strictly wrestling, and people were just sitting at tables or standing up. We saw a bunch of people. We saw Jungle Boy. We saw Boogeyman, Kevin Nash, Mick Foley, Tony Storm.
I was ready to pay the $50 to meet Tony, but she did not look happy. I'll tell you that.
Happy,
I'll tell you, Jungle Boy is ready to whoop some ass out there.
Yeah, because Adam Cole was getting everybody in his line.
Yeah. I was thinking of meeting Knickers.
Knickers was cool. We went to the WrestleCon after party as well on Friday night. And there was
Boy, do we have a story about that.
Do we?
There was only probably about like 50 people there, maybe, in total. But it was very cool. The opening of that was like Mick Foley doing a Q&A about wrestling and learning a lot about stuff.
With Colt Cabana.
With Colt Cabana.
Very cool.
The night kind of went on. We got some musical acts, and we could tell people were getting a little intoxicated around us. But yeah, this one guy ended up. Sean, if you want to tell this part, you know it a little bit better than me because it happened basically to you. What a funny story.
So one of the women was performing a bunch of songs off a playlist she had set up for us. Very catchy. The crowd was very in tune with it. And, the promoters were advertising, go enjoy yourself, have some drinks. So the two people that were a little in front of me, off to my right, one of his buddies happened to fall back completely, head smashed right into my foot. And he went out like a sack of potatoes. He was completely out. His face, nose was leaking immediately. His buddy picks him up, tries to play it off like nothing happened. We're all staring at the kid like, man, did the kid just die? He brings him out there to the back. Security's over there like looking at him like, dude, what just happened? And his buddy's trying to explain it as he's holding him up with the dead weight. We leave a little early because we were kind of wiped out. We had a long day ahead of us the following day. We're on the parking lot. Jeremy's getting the Uber already. Chris turns to the side. He's like, that kid's still on the ground right there in the pavement. And we're looking, and then Jeremy goes, Sean, why didn't you fucking kick him in the head? Why'd you do that for? That was like the ongoing joke that I kicked him in the head, but the poor guy had a little few too many drinks and fell down, unfortunately, and hopefully he's okay.
That wasn't
interesting stories.
I was gonna say that wasn't the only ongoing joke that we had. Another joke that was going on was the Hollywood tour. The Uber drops us off.
Oh my god!
Jeremy and I were in the back. Sean was in the front. So he pulls up to the sidewalk, about to drop us off. We say thank you so much. Jeremy and Sean open the door at the same time. Sean absolutely slams this guy's door into the sidewalk. And Jeremy gives me a look and gives the Uber driver a look like, what just happened? Sean is extremely lucky he did not get an extra fee on top of this charge already. He was like the nicest
Uber driver ever, too. Oh, my God.
He was a big wrestling fan. We were able to. He actually immediately, while he was driving us, had like our podcast on like his playlist that he had set to go. So I very appreciate that a lot. Very nice guy.
He probably unfollowed.
Gave us a little background of LA.
He followed us right after.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, he ripped that card immediately.
Yeah, we had some incredible stories. So we did go to the WrestleCon after party. Went to WrestleCon. We did the Hollywood tour, so we did do some sightseeing. We went around Santa Monica. Cool thing about Santa Monica, we actually were going right towards the pier, and as we were walking towards the pier, Hit Row were just casually walking by us. So we pointed them out like,
you're still there,
like 100 yards away. Chris was like, "Oh, is that them?" And I was like, "Yep, that I know BFAB's here. That's definitely them." And we who else did we see? When we first got there, we were waiting in line for an Uber, and we saw Brian Myers. So that was pretty cool.
Yep.
saw Wardlow at the airport.
Wardlow at the airport, yeah. LA, the one thing I will say about LA is obviously like that's where like a lot of stars are in terms of Hollywood, but with wrestling there, like you could run into someone anywhere, like walking down the fucking street. That was very cool about that.
Yeah.
So
something else about
got to take a picture with.
I was going to say something.
Got to take a picture with the former. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Say something else about the weekend was we probably went to the Superstore at least 4 times because
Yes.
we had like a VIP pass, so we got to cut the line and get in our own little entrance where nobody was going to, so we could get in and out no problem. Sean pretty much bought the entire store.
I second that.
Jeremy was very close to that. And then I was good this year. I did a lot at WrestleMania 35, so I thought, Mania 39, let me take it easy. I bought my blanket that I buy every year. It's very comfortable. I buy a WrestleMania blanket.
The traditions.
Jeremy's got his WrestleMania jacket on me, and Sean got the sweatshirts. We're going to be living in this gear.
Well.
We're going to be living in this gear till next year.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say this, folks. Chris is going to top us next year. He's going to blow us out of the water. He's going to double our purchases next year.
We're
40.
talking about doing Uber on the side to make sure he can pay for WrestleMania next year.
To pay for a belt.
He is probably going in deep
in the belts
deep
next year.
Yep.
What a weekend, guys! It was, like I said, and we're asked this question by Chris in terms of like how it felt. Looking back on it now, I feel like I felt so much more impacted by WrestleMania 39 than I did 35. Both have its soft spots for me, but what an incredible weekend. LA for the wrestling portion and SoFi Stadium, it was a great host for that. LA is not a city I plan on going back to, but it was still, WrestleMania Goes Hollywood was the theme. It was spot on. Everything about it was spot on. And I thought it was an incredible weekend and probably one of the, if not the best WrestleMania of all time. So there's a lot to top going to Philadelphia for next year for WrestleMania 40. On that note, boy, did Philadelphia get booed out of the fucking stadium when they were announced in LA. I don't know what LA has against Philly. I mean, we're from like Massachusetts, from Boston, and we think we would not like Philadelphia, but holy shit, these people in California.
There's one thing. Rams used to kind of be a rivalry to the Eagles back in the day. That's the only thing I could think of.
It was crazy heat for Philadelphia.
Quick drive for us.
Yeah, quick drive for us. So we're excited for that. But that wraps our night 2 kind of review. We had a fantastic time. What a main event. We are going to be posting more videos, and next week we'll be going into some Raw reviews, and I might come up with some different things. We may talk about Mount Rushmores. We may do WrestleManias. We're going to talk about that this weekend and see what we're coming out with. But there'll be some unique, at least portions of our podcast next week. So we're going to go back to our usual schedule of Tuesday and Friday releases, so Monday, Thursday recordings. And, keep a lookout on social media and follow us. We really appreciate it. Thank you, and you all have a good one.